Your life right now is not what's stopping you from being happy. That might be the most uncomfortable thing you'll hear today, because if it's true, and it is, then everything you've been waiting for, every condition you've been trying to fix, every situation you've been hoping would finally change, none of it was ever the real problem. Most people never figure this out. They spend years chasing the right circumstances, the right relationship, the right amount of money, the right moment. And every time they get close, the target moves. The chase continues, and the peace they were promised never arrives. But across history, the people who actually found lasting inner calm, Marcus Aurelius ruling an empire in the middle of war, Epictetus living in chains with nothing, Seneca facing death with total composure, they all arrived at the same conclusion. Your peace has nothing to do with what's happening around you. It never did. Stoicism doesn't offer you a perfect life. It offers you something far more useful, a mind that cannot be broken by an imperfect one. Maybe you've been holding it together, telling yourself to push through. But there are days when the weight is heavier than your willpower. Days when the uncertainty, the exhaustion, the quiet fear that things won't improve, all of it presses down at once. And you're not looking for a lecture. You're looking for something solid to hold on to. That's exactly what this is. In this video, we're going to go through 8 Stoic principles that will show you how to build a happiness that no external circumstance can take from you. How to develop a resilience that holds even when life gets brutal. How to stop being owned by your emotions and start governing them. And how to find genuine calm, not just on the easy days, but especially on the ones that aren't. Stay with this. Before we begin, if what you just heard already resonates, go to the comments right now and write, "My peace does not depend on the external." Not later, now. Because there's a difference between agreeing with an idea and committing to it. That one act is your first step. Let's go. Lesson 1. Stop waiting to be happy. There is a quiet lie that most people live by without ever questioning it. It goes like this: when things improve, I'll feel better. When the job comes through, when the stress lifts, when life finally cooperates, then I'll allow myself to be happy. It feels mature, responsible even, like you're being realistic about your circumstances. But here's the truth. That belief is costing you your life. Not someday. Right now. Today. Happiness is not a reward waiting at the end of the right set of conditions. It is a decision, available to you in this exact moment, that most people keep deferring until a moment that never quite arrives. Marcus Aurelius knew this. He governed one of the most complex empires in human history under constant pressure, constant threat, constant loss. And yet he wrote daily about choosing his response, about finding the gift inside each ordinary day before demanding that the day be something different. He understood that freedom doesn't live in your circumstances. It lives in your mind. Seneca was even more direct. He said the problem was never a shortage of time. The problem was the extraordinary volume of it that people throw away while waiting to begin living. Epictetus reminded us that we are not in control of what arrives at our door. We are only ever in control of how we answer it. So here is your practice, not theory, not philosophy, but something you can do in the next 60 seconds. Notice your breath. Feel the weight of your body where you're sitting. Name one thing, just one, that you're grateful for right now, without requiring anything else to change. That act is not small. That is the beginning of an entirely different relationship with your own life. Every morning before the day pulls you under, before the notifications, the obligations, the noise, remind yourself of this. Your happiness belongs to you. Not to your history, not to your future, not to the people around you, to you. Make the decision now, and then make it again tomorrow. Hit the like button if this already landed. You'd be surprised how many people need to hear this today. But choosing happiness in the present is only the beginning. Because even people who manage that still get blindsided by one thing they were never taught to accept. That's what comes next. Lesson 2. Nothing lasts forever, and that's the point. Here is something your mind resists with everything it has. Nothing stays. Not the pain, not the grief, not the seasons that feel like they'll swallow you whole. But also, and this is the part that creates the most suffering, not the good things either. We grip. That's the human default. We hold on to what feels safe, what feels familiar, what feels like ours. And we build our sense of stability on the assumption that certain things will remain. When they don't, when they shift, when they leave, when they become something we didn't choose, we feel betrayed by life itself. But life didn't betray you. It simply kept moving. The way it always has. The way it always will. Think back to the hardest moment you've ever lived through. The one that felt permanent, final, like it defined the entire shape of your future. And yet here you are, on the other side of it, still breathing, still capable of growth. What felt like a wall was actually a season. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the universe is in a state of constant transformation, and the wise person doesn't fight that current. They learn to move with it. Epictetus taught that the moment we hand our peace over to external conditions, we give up the only thing we were ever truly given, our inner world. When impermanence stops being something you resist and starts being something you accept, everything changes. Each moment becomes more vivid, each connection becomes more meaningful, and the suffering that came from trying to freeze things in place, that dissolves. The next time pain shows up, say this, slowly, deliberately, like you mean it. This too will pass. Not to dismiss what you feel, but to remind yourself of what you've already proven. You have survived every difficult moment life has handed you so far. Every single one. That is not a coincidence. That is evidence of who you are. Impermanence is not a threat. In the hands of someone who understands it, it becomes the greatest teacher they've ever had. And speaking of letting go, the next lesson takes that even further, because there's something most people are carrying right now that they don't even realize is weighing them down. Lesson 3. What you release releases you. You are probably carrying something right now that doesn't belong to you anymore. Not a physical weight, something older than that. A person you haven't forgiven, an outcome you couldn't control, a version of your life you expected and grieved when it didn't arrive. A memory you keep returning to, as if revisiting it enough times might finally change how it ended. We don't suffer most from the loss itself. We suffer from the belief that things should have been different. That belief is the root of attachment, and attachment is always underneath everything a form of fear. Fear that life won't be good again. Fear that what was lost made us permanently less. Fear that letting go means admitting defeat. Here is what Stoicism says with complete clarity. Attachment is weight. Releasing it is not weakness. It is the most powerful thing you can do. Marcus Aurelius wrote that everything we receive is on loan. From the universe, from time, from life itself. Nothing is ours to keep. And everything, even the things that hurt us, is an invitation to grow stronger. Seneca put it plainly. Every moment you spend gripping what's already gone is a moment you steal from what's actually here. Practicing detachment is not about becoming cold. It is not about caring less. You can love deeply, fully, and still hold what you love with an open hand. The two are not opposites. In fact, the person who loves without clinging loves more freely than anyone. Every time you release a resentment that was only burning you, every time you let go of an expectation that had already expired, every time you stop dragging a past version of your story into the present, you get lighter. You reclaim energy. you create space for something new. You are not losing anything when you release. You are making room for everything that's still possible. Breathe and let it go. What comes next might be the lesson that changes the most for you, because it addresses the one place most people never think to look for peace. Lesson 4. Peace was always an inside job. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You tell yourself you'll relax once things calm down, once the pressure lifts, once the situation resolves itself. And sometimes it does. The pressure eases, the situation improves, and for a moment you breathe, and then something else arrives, and the cycle starts again. That's not bad luck. That's the inevitable result of looking for peace in a place it was never stored. The peace that depends on external conditions is fragile by design. It will always be one unexpected event, away from collapsing, because the world does not cooperate with our need for stillness. It never has. And no amount of effort spent arranging your circumstances will ever change that fundamental truth. Genuine peace, the kind that holds, is not something the world can offer you. It cannot be purchased, earned, or stumbled upon in the right set of conditions. It is built inside you, in a place that no circumstance has access to, unless you hand it the keys. Epictetus organized his entire life around this understanding. He taught that the domain of your true power is narrow and absolute. Your thoughts, your intentions, your responses. Everything outside that, what others think of you, what happens to you, what the world decides to do, exists beyond your control. And the moment you stop trying to control it, you stop suffering over it. Think about a moment when everything around you was in chaos, and somehow your mind found its footing anyway. Maybe just long enough to take one breath. Maybe just long enough to take the next step. That moment was not luck. It was proof. The stillness you are searching for already lives inside you. You have accessed it before. You can access it again, deliberately, consistently, on purpose. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the person who has decided to hold their mind steady cannot be shaken, not by loss, not by failure, not by the behavior of others. The decision comes first, the steadiness follows. Watch your thoughts, feel your emotions without being swept away by them. Each time you respond from calm instead of reacting from fear, you reinforce the foundation. And over time, that foundation becomes something no external storm can reach. Your peace was never out there. It was always in here, waiting for you to stop looking elsewhere. Lesson 5. Your mind is your responsibility. Every single day, life is going to hand you things you didn't ask for. People who behave in ways that make no sense, problems that show up without warning, news that arrives before you're ready for it. And in those moments, something will rise inside you. Anger, anxiety, the sharp edge of frustration. That reaction is not a flaw. It's human. You don't choose what triggers you, but you always choose what happens next. Between the thing that happens and the way you respond, there is a space. Most people don't know that space exists. They move from trigger to reaction so automatically that the choice disappears entirely. They become, without meaning to, a passenger in their own life, moved entirely by whatever just happened to them. We live in a world specifically designed to keep that space as narrow as possible. Constant notifications, relentless stimulation, the pressure to react immediately to everything, always. The environment is built for reactivity. And if you don't actively push back against it, it wins. Marcus Aurelius described the mind as a fortress, impenetrable to anything that hasn't been invited in. Epictetus taught that events carry no inherent meaning. It is only the story we attach to them that generates suffering or peace. The event is neutral. Your interpretation is everything. Here is the practice. The next time a strong emotion surfaces, don't fight it and don't feed it. Name it, observe it. Give it a moment without immediately converting it into action. You are expanding that gap, the space where your real power lives. At first it feels unnatural, like you're supposed to be doing something. But doing nothing, consciously, deliberately, is one of the most advanced things a human being can practice. You are not at the mercy of your mind. You are its author. And every time you choose response over reaction, you write a slightly better version of yourself into existence. Subscribe to Stoic Thoughts if you haven't yet. Every video on this channel is built to give you something you can actually use. And this next lesson is one most people never see coming. Lesson 6. Generosity is a form of strength. Most of us were taught in one way or another that life is a competition for limited resources. Time, money, energy, opportunity. And inside that framework, giving feels like subtraction. Like every act of generosity leaves you with less. Stoicism disagrees completely. The generosity that builds genuine character is not about grand gestures. It doesn't require sacrifice or spectacle. It happens in ordinary moments that most people walk right past. The moment you choose to truly listen, not to respond, but to understand. The word of encouragement offered to someone who didn't know they needed it. The patience extended to someone who is struggling, even on the days when you're struggling too. These acts appear small. They are not. Marcus Aurelius believed that human beings are social by nature, that our sense of fulfillment is fundamentally connected to our contribution to each other. He didn't write about generosity as an obligation. He wrote about it as an expression of a well-ordered inner life. Seneca made it even simpler. Real wealth is not what you accumulate, it is what you give away. Every genuine act of giving interrupts the internal cycle of scarcity. It confronts directly the belief that your peace depends on what you receive. And in that confrontation, something opens, the mind lightens, the sense of connection deepens. The happiness that arrives is immediate, not conditional, not deferred. Now. Today, not eventually today. Find one opportunity to give something without any expectation of return. A word, your full attention for 5 minutes. An act of service that no one requested. Do it with complete intention, and then pay attention to what happens inside you. Notice that you don't feel emptier. You feel lighter, more connected, more like the person you actually want to be. That is not sentiment. That is the architecture of a life that works. Lesson 7. The only change that actually works starts here. There is a pattern so common it has become invisible, waiting for other people to change before you allow yourself to feel okay, waiting for the circumstances to improve, waiting for some external permission to finally be at peace. And while the waiting continues, the days move, the anxiety builds, and the life you were hoping for keeps existing just slightly out of reach. Here is the truth that cuts through all of it. The change you have been waiting for was never going to come from outside, not because the world doesn't matter, but because the world does not have access to the place where your peace actually lives. The most powerful decision any human being can make is the one made in private, without an audience, without any guarantee of outcome. The decision to transform their own inner world, not their reputation, not their circumstances, not the people around them, themselves. That decision is harder than it sounds. Every one of us carries damage, patterns that calcified into habits, ways of thinking that feel like facts because we've held them for so long. And there are moments when grief or fear or anger feel genuinely stronger than any intention we've set. That's not weakness. That's what it means to be human. Stoicism doesn't ask you to pretend those moments don't exist. It asks you to recognize that you are not those moments, that between what you feel and what you do, there is always a choice. Epictetus taught that the first and most essential move toward freedom is owning your own mind completely. Marcus Aurelius, ruling the most powerful empire in the world, spent years writing to himself in private. Not decrees, not strategy, personal reminders that the only influence with real and lasting weight is the kind that begins from within. Small decisions compound, choosing to pause before you speak when anger rises, choosing to release a resentment instead of feeding it, choosing one deliberate action instead of letting the day carry you. None of these feel significant in isolation. Together over time, they become a completely different life. Healing your own inner world is not a selfish act. It is the most useful thing you can do for yourself and for everyone around you. Steadiness is contagious. The person who has found their own ground naturally helps others find theirs. You've always had the capacity to take hold of your own life. The only question is whether today is the day you actually do. Lesson 8. Pain is not the enemy. There is no version of a full life that does not include loss. No philosophy, no practice, no level of inner development removes that reality. Failure will come. Grief will come. There will be moments that take something from you that you cannot get back. And in those moments, the pain will be real. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But here is what the Stoics understood, and what most people spend an entire lifetime missing. Pain is not the obstacle standing between you and growth. Pain is the mechanism of growth, the raw material, the thing that, when met with honesty and intention, becomes something you could not have built any other way. Marcus Aurelius wrote that inside every obstacle, without exception, there is a seed. Something that only becomes visible when you stop fighting the obstacle and start examining it. Epictetus went further. He said obstacles don't block the path. They are the path. The fractures, the failures, the losses that left you unrecognizable to yourself, all of it fertile ground. When you stop trying to escape what hurts and start meeting it with awareness, something shifts. You discover that you are more capable than comfort ever allowed you to believe. Resilience that had no reason to surface in easy times, clarity that only arrives when everything you assumed turns out to be wrong. A quality of character that cannot be faked, because it was built in conditions that left no room for performance. This is not about suppressing what you feel. It is not about performing strength while privately falling apart. It is about being honest with what is in front of you, and then asking with genuine curiosity, what is this making possible that wasn't possible before? Every time you choose not to be permanently defined by what wounded you, you are building something. Every time you extract the lesson instead of just absorbing the damage, your mind grows in ways that cannot be undone. Every time you accept that impermanence applies to pain too, your heart gets lighter. What you are facing, or have faced, or will face, it is not evidence that life is working against you. It is the very process by which you become someone that life cannot permanently break. Let it teach you, let it strengthen you, and then let it go. Take a breath. You just moved through 8 principles that have held people together through war, through exile, through loss, through everything. And the through line in all of them is the same. Your peace was never out there. It was always in here. Stoic happiness is not euphoria. It is not the absence of hardship. It is the quiet, unshakable calm of a person who has stopped making their inner world dependent on their outer one. If something in this video shifted for you, even one thing, go to the comments right now and write, "My peace does not depend on the external." Write it like you mean it, because you do. And that declaration, made publicly, made intentionally, becomes an anchor. Something to return to when the noise gets loud and the ground feels unsteady. If this content gave you something real today, support Stoic Thoughts by subscribing, leaving a comment, or sharing this video with someone who needs to hear it. You might not know who that person is, But you probably know someone carrying more than they should, and this might be exactly what they need. The work doesn't end here. It begins the moment you close this video and walk back into your life. You cannot always govern what arrives, but you can always train the mind that meets it. Thank you for being here. Now go live it.